Absolutely. He defends the church's moral positions, yet his focus seems to be on outreach, especially to the poor. How does that play out in Chicago?
I think in Chicago it will be very well received. I mean, we're talking about a very large city. It's a gregarious kind of an archdiocese. Historically, bishops have struggled sometimes with the presbyterate. It's a very active kind of an archdiocese. But it also has a host of social problems, of economic problems, and the outreach of someone like Archbishop Supich, intensely pastoral, to say that phrase again, much like Francis, I think is something that will resonate well, not just with Catholics, but with the community at large. And again, he is not a message from Pope Francis to the American hierarchy. But he is a pastor. He's somebody who wants to serve as their bishop. That's what Francis wants in that post.
I want to talk to you more about the Pope coming to the United States, as well as his agreement to put showers into the restrooms there in St. Peter's Square. Yeah. So if you'll come back with us a little later on, we'll tackle those.
Looking forward to it.
Dr. Matthew Bunson, thanks for being with us. Well, coming up, immigration is an issue on the minds of both the Pope and the President. On Monday, November 17th, thanks for joining us for EWTN News Nightly. I'm Brian Patrick. More than 1,000 students flood Capitol Hill today, remembering 6 Jesuit priests who died fighting for human rights in El Salvador. The students spread out in groups advocating for immigration reform and human rights in Central America. The Jesuits were killed on a San Salvador college campus in 1989. One of the activists explains why the students came to Capitol Hill today.
We're here to continue to live out the legacy of the Jesuit martyrs of El Salvador, killed 25 years ago. The majority of these folks are young people. They're people who were not even alive when the Jesuits were killed, but they feel called to act on this legacy.
The students who gathered on this rainy Monday represent more than 90 Catholic high schools and universities nationwide. Senate Democrats are urging the president to act on immigration, saying he should do so through executive action. 6 lawmakers, including current Majority Leader Harry Reid, sent a letter to the White House saying as much today. They argue executive action for illegal immigrants who have strong ties to the country would help boost the nation's economy. The White House is expected to take action this week, possibly affecting 5 million immigrants. Republicans disagree with any plans that are not passed by Congress. They are looking at possible ways to block White House measures. Pope Francis says sharp tensions in European cities over immigrants could worsen without constructive dialogue. He's suggesting local churches could host meetings for all sides to listen and make plans together. His remarks Sunday in St. Peter's Square come days after an outbreak of violence against refugees in working-class Rome neighborhoods. Riot police were sent in after several days of anti-immigrant tensions. The Pope thinks these meetings may help, quote, overcome every suspicion and prejudice. 3 sisters serving on the border at Brownsville, Texas, are honored for their work during the immigration crisis. Sister Carolyn Jackson, Sister Emily Kosib, and Sister Fatima Santiago are missionary sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. They received the National 2014 Lumen Christi Award, Latin for Light of Christ. Ashley Feasley is an immigration policy advisor at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Do you think Pope Francis is more outspoken than previous popes on immigration?
I think that Pope Francis has a strong affinity for migrants, and I think some of this comes from his work and also the fact that he is the first pope from Latin America and his affinity for the Latino community.
Pope Francis, of course, speaking out this weekend on immigration. President Obama now likely to take action, executive action, on immigration reform. Do you think the bishops support that?
The bishops are supporting executive action. I think that they feel that it's important to end family separation and deportations, but they also urge for further work with Congress to make a more permanent legislative solution to our broken immigration system.
Catholics are free on this issue to disagree on the approach to it. What exactly would the bishops like to see in this area?
I think that it's important to recognize that the bishops would like to see families be able to stay together. They see it in their communities, the separation that it's caused. And it's important to recognize that executive action is a means to end that temporarily. But of course, a larger legislative solution with Congress is ultimately the best solution to fixing this broken immigration system.
How did the bishops address this issue at their General Assembly in Baltimore last week?
Bishop Elizondo, who is the committee head of the Committee on Migration, spoke about this in the meeting and talked about the need to alleviate some of the suffering that some of the community is facing, and the need and urge to support immigration reform and end the suffering of family separation.
So Catholics are called to welcome strangers. Jesus did that. But also we're supposed to follow the law. How do we do both?
I think it's important to remember that these individuals who are living here, they want to get right with the law. They are raising families here. They're contributing to their communities. They're going to church. They're paying taxes. And we as Catholics, we need to welcome them, but we also need to advocate Congress for reform to this broken immigration system and try and live within that paradigm and follow the law.
So many of us American Catholics are the descendants of immigrants. I think it's important to remember that as well. Ashley Feasley, Immigration Policy Advisor at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, the U.S. Border Patrol's latest security measure is an invasion of